So I have severe, severe trauma with all of this, right? So I began to wean off the medications. The truth is, I began to wean off the medications, how many years ago would it be? At least 13 years ago, 13, 14 years ago, possibly even 15 years ago. No, let me think, at least 13 years ago. And when you're on multiple medications, it can take a long time to wean off the medications. It can take a handful of years or longer. And 15 years ago, when I said to the doctor, I have done everything, and I don't know how many medications I was on at the time, probably 6 or more, and multiple sleep drugs, benzos, antidepressant. And I said to the doctor, I have done because they will smile at you and talk to you like you're fine when you're on all these medications and you're sicker than a dog. And I said, I had severe brain fog, depression, severe ADHD, so distracted. My brain was scrambled. My memory was gone. I was just so out of it and so drugged up and dumbed down and confused. And my brain was scrambled from all the drugs. And like literally the brain fog was like a black blanket over my head. It was like I couldn't see to the end of this. I can see clearly right now out the window to the end of the street. The brain fog was like I couldn't see to the end of the street. Like my brain was so screwed up from all the drugs. And I said to my doctor, this is a doctor that I was seeing for years, that I really trusted. And I said, I've done everything to get well. I've done supplements, I've done, vitamins, I've done this, that, all these other modalities. I'm constantly researching PTSD. I'm constantly trying to figure out what is wrong with me. And, severe PMDD, seasonal affective disorder, ADHD, all these disorders. My memory is gone. I can't think straight. There's Post-it notes all over the walls. I'm sleepwalking. I'm sleep eating. I've got a severe insomnia. I'm sleeping 3 hours a night. I'm a mom. I've got dogs. I'm overwhelmed. I've had to stop working because my brain is gone. And because I don't sleep. And I remember saying to the doctor, I've done everything to get well. Everything. I eat well. I've always exercised. I'm slim. I take care of myself. There's just so many things wrong. I said, what if we start weaning off the medications? What if the medications are making me sick or keeping me sick? And the doctor said, the drugs are keeping you alive. The drugs are like insulin to a diabetic. You need to take these drugs for the rest of your life. And if you wean off of them, you'll die. And I'm like, what? And, what a moment. And in that moment, I really don't know who's wrong and who's right. I'm sitting across from this doctor, and I don't know if Who's wrong? Me or her? Who's delusional about what's going on here? How can you tell? If you were sitting in, if you're a social worker sitting in on this, or a family member, and I'm saying to the doctor, I think at this point, maybe the drugs are making me sick or keeping me sick. And the doctor says the drugs are keeping you alive. You have to be on them for the rest of your life. If you wean off of them, you'll die. If you're sitting right there as a witness, as a social worker or a family member, who do you think is correct? How could you discern that? How could you know? Who are you going to side with? Guess what the only way to find out was? The only way to find out who was right was to wean off the drugs and take the risk of losing my life. That was the only way. Well, guess what? They didn't want to deprescribe me off of anything. So I wanted a second opinion. The second opinion, I went for a second opinion. I thought this doctor might be really higher integrity and stuff because they were a Christian. The second opinion doctor put me on another benzodiazepine. Added another benzo onto what I was already taking. And I didn't know what a benzo was. Now I'm on another benzo. Now I'm they're just compounding my issues, right? So that doctor compounded my problem. Went back to my normal doctor, and they were ready. She was ready. They were ready for me at the door. They concocted this story to abandoning your patients. You're not supposed to abandon a patient, right? I went back to my regular doctor. They were ready for me. They threatened me at the door. She's got me on all these medications, and I am now being cut off from care. I'm being told to get out or else. I'm being threatened. And I'm like, what is happening? What did I do? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I've been a patient here for years. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. You know what was happening is I was asking too many questions. I was asking questions about the medications. So I was refused care. They call it patient abandonment, to cut someone off from care, firing a patient. But what it is, you're abandoning somebody that's in crisis on all these medications that you're prescribing them. And I'm standing on the street and my head is reeling. Now what? I don't have a doctor. I'm on all these drugs and I don't have a doctor. And I'm just in shock. I'm standing on the street between the office building and my car, and my head is reeling. I'm on all these medications. What am I going to do? I found another family doctor. I had to stop going to my long-term family doctor because I was now too impaired to drive. I was on all these pills, critically sleep deprived, sleeping 3 hours a night, on all these pills that were impairing me. And I could no longer drive the distance to my family doctors. So I had to find another family doctor. And I started to see this new family doctor. He said, can I call the previous doctor, the female doctor that was, and I'm still on all these medications. You can't just stop medications. And he said, can I call her to discuss your case? Because I'm severely sleep deprived. I'm begging for help. And I said, no, absolutely not. You can't call her. And he said, why not? And I said, because you're my fresh set of eyes. I came to you for your opinion without you being negatively influenced by anybody. I want you to hear my story. I want you to hear me, not other doctors who were misdiagnosing me. And he said, okay, fair enough. And I went to my next appointment with him, and he said, okay, so I called Dr. So-and-so, and I said, what? You did what? Well, I called I said, I explicitly told you that you couldn't call her because she was going to poison you. She was going to negatively influence you about all my health issues. No, that's it. The damage was done. And I'm too impaired. I'm too sick, too sleep deprived, too impaired to find another doctor. Like, how many doctors and then he tries to act impartial. Like, I know I'm screwed wherever I go. So what happened with the second opinion? He put me on another benzodiazepine. Now I'm just totally screwed, right? I'm drugged up. I'm more drugged up. I'm sitting with this new doctor. He's calling the other doctor. Like, you're screwed. They've got you by the jewels, right? You're screwed. They're communicating with each other. There's no respect for HIPAA. You've got no rights. I really truly believe that many doctors believe that you have no rights when they've got you on psych medications. If I had a doctor on a big pile of psych medications, would I respect him as much as, this is the truth. Would I respect him, or would I doubt his credibility? Would I doubt a doctor's credibility if he were on 5 or 12 psych drugs? Would that influence me? If I had a choice of 5 different doctors and one of them was on 5 psych drugs or 9 psych drugs, would that influence me whether I wanted to have that person making my medical decisions for me? You know what? I'm afraid to say that it would. And this is my opinion. If you don't think if you're on, half a dozen psych drugs, or, 5 or 6 or 7 sleeping pills, you don't think that that's going to influence your doctor wondering about your credibility? If you're on benzos and antidepressants or a pile of sleeping pills, you don't think that affects your thinking or your judgment or your credibility, or what other people think about your judgment or credibility or decision-making skills? And the medical community will say, no, we don't that. Really, though? If you were looking for a babysitter, would you want to leave your newborn with someone? And I'm not saying all people on psych drugs are bad or dangerous or have no credibility, but do you really think that would never affect your opinion of someone? Or do you think that it wouldn't affect your judgment or your decision-making skills if you're on 9 sleeping pills? Because the sleeping pills are affecting you 24 hours a day, right? They don't just leave. They're affecting your thinking skills and your judgment and your energy and your ability to function. That, or multiple benzos or antidepressant or a mood stabilizer, you don't think that affects your mind?